What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Reyes Reflection Podcast, your hub for different guests with various stories. I'm going to ask for some favors. Subscribe to the pod. It's the first one. Second one, share the show with one friend. And follow me on the socials at I'm Nathanael Reyes. Time to talk about those folks that bring the show to you. Jocko Fuel, clean fuel without compromise. Mad Rabbit, Tattoo Aftercare, be bold, be you. Use that promo code RAISERFLEXION at checkout for a discount on your order. And lastly, Arave cards, completing sets, one card at a time. Check out their eBay, Facebook, and their streams on Whatnot to get yourself started on your Pokemon card collection today. Now, intro time for my next guest. He's a Massachusetts native. He is a comedian. You can see him at various shows across the East Coast. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Tim McKeever, welcome to the pod.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know you're a very busy person. Like I said, I've seen your schedule. You have shows all over the place.
I know what I'm doing tonight. I'm working on my Pokemon collection.
I can't, dude. That makes me happy to hear. I'll let him know. I'll let him know. That's awesome to hear. Are you a Pokemon fan?
No, I don't have any. My collection has nothing in it right now. You have to hit up your sponsor immediately.
Yeah, today's the day to start, my friend.
I'm so far behind.
That's awesome to hear. So I want to learn a little bit more about you before we get rolling as to what you do. I mentioned you're a comedian. You grew up in Western Massachusetts. I'm a Massachusetts native myself, born and raised here. Thought I was a comedian as well, but it didn't pan out as well as I'm sure it did for you. So I want to hear about you. What was life like in early days for Tim?
Oh my God. How far back are we started?
I want to start from the day that you remember yourself in diapers to present day.
It was a nightmare. It was a living nightmare. I remember present day. I used to drink a lot, so a lot of the other stuff is gone. I know what I did today.
So what'd you do today? Let's start with today.
I went to the gym. I ate a couple lunches. I eat 2 lunches.
Yep.
And I'm doing this. I'm doing a podcast.
I love to hear it. What'd you have for lunch?
Oh, well, I had turkey meatloaf and sweet potato for one lunch, and I had brown rice and grilled chicken for the other one.
Okay. Any particular reason as to why you're having 2 meals? Are you trying to bulk up?
I just have always ate a certain way to support what I'm doing in the gym. It's just, your normal run-of-the-mill insanity is really the reason why I eat like this.
So now you're in the comedic scene, or yeah, that's how you say it, right? Is that you say comedic scene? Is that right?
I'm saying comedy. I'm in comedy in some fashion.
All right. So now you're in comedy. When did you fully commit to pursuing that as a career?
So I got up for the first time, I want to say like in 2010 or something like that. I entered a contest that my mom actually sent me the information for. I was so stupid and naive. I was always a big fan of comedy, but I didn't know that you probably shouldn't just like enter a contest having never stepped on a stage before. So I did the contest. It went well. I didn't win, of course. And afterwards, I just, once you get up there and you do it, you feel like this just compulsion to just keep doing it and doing it. And that's really where it started. So it started around then, but then I took time off and I went to grad school for a couple of years. I really wasn't doing anything during that time for comedy, and then just picked it back up afterwards when I had more time to start doing it. And that's it. Just pretty much takes off from there. You start small, doing small stuff, and then it just keeps getting bigger, bigger, bigger until you're working more often and working in better rooms and things like that. That's pretty much how it happened. And much like eating 2 lunches, I feel like I can't stop. I feel like I'm in this now. I got to keep doing it.
So you said you went back to school. What did you go to school for?
I went to school for social work.
So in some capacity, you wanted to work with people.
I guess you could say so. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I went to undergrad for psychology, and I have no idea what the plan was there. I dropped and picked up a lot of majors in my undergrad, and then just ended up graduating with psychology, not realizing that you can't do anything with a degree in psychology. So I started working in the social work field, and then eventually went back to school to get a master's in social work, because it's a more marketable degree. But if any kids are listening, they should know, just get a degree in computers or anything that has to do with technology, anything like that. Just stay away from psychology, anything like that.
Yeah, technology seems to be the avenue that most people are taking. AI, that type of stuff.
That's where you want to be. You want to be where the AI is. There's no AI in social work. It's me. I'm AI. This is what you get.
How would you describe your sense of humor?
Man, that's a good question. I would describe it as I mean, I get told all the time like it's really dry, sarcastic, maybe cynical. There's a lot of cynicism involved in it. I feel like when I write for the stage and stuff like that doesn't always come across, but there's a fair amount of stuff that I say or do in my act that's just for me, that I feel like I understand, and I don't know if anybody else will, but that's always been like my favorite kind of style. I like really dry style of humor. That's always been Norm Macdonald was one of my favorite comedians. I mean, you don't get more dry and sarcastic than that.
So you mentioned Norm Macdonald. Who else were some inspirations that you had growing up? Because it's hard, right? You're trying to gain inspiration here, gain inspiration there, but at some point, Tim has to look himself in the mirror and say, which avenue am I going to take?
So I would say when I first got into stand up, like as far as like the art form of stand up, there was a kid in my neighborhood that had this was 1,000 years ago. It was a cassette tape of an Eddie Murphy stand up special, and it wasn't one of the like really popular mainstream ones at the time, but it was. I just remember we used to listen to it over and over again, and it was hilarious. Of course, Eddie Murphy's hilarious, and that's when like I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that you could do something like that, and then just like from listening to that and others stand up, I feel like you really start to pick up the cadence of what a joke sounds like and the rhythm of comedy, because comedy does have a certain style and rhythm to it. And then it's more about bringing more of yourself into it. This is just from my perspective. Everybody's got their own take on this. So I always say when I talk to some of my comedian friends, like when you start off in like year 1, 2, 3, even beyond that, you're writing like what you think that the people you're performing for might want to hear. And then at some point, your soul doesn't allow you to do that kind of stuff anymore, because you're just like, what the hell am I talking about this for? I don't even have an opinion on this. I don't care about this. And that switches, and you end up start bringing more and more of yourself into it. And that's something, I mean, that's evolving even into this day. Like, I'll have sets, some that I've done recently that I thought like, holy crap, like I legit was just up there having a conversation. I was talking about things I wanted to talk about. I was expressing opinions that I want to talk about. That the style thing, like the Norm Macdonald, the dry wit and stuff like that, like those components, they're always going to be there in some form. But it's like it's like music, you know, it all draws from influences. It didn't just come out of nowhere. Anything that exists is drawn from stuff that comes before it.
Right, right. Everybody's influenced by someone, something. So, yeah, and you take what you can. And I feel like you're in a very tough field because you're obviously playing to the crowd. No pun intended. You know, that's part. You are literally playing to a crowd. Do you use crowd work? Is there some improv on your shows, or is it just a lot of times you go in with some material and you're like, I want to get A, B, C done and just get in, get out? Or is it for you, you're like, you know what? If I see somebody wearing a goofy ass shirt, like I wore this shirt for you today, it says "Just Here to Bang" with a firework. I thought you'd appreciate the satire in that.
I see what you did there.
So if you saw someone like that, right, would you then get inspiration and maybe make a joke out of that? Like, I'm just curious.
I mean, I do some crowd work. I do some riffing on stage. For me, most of the times, it's just the stuff that naturally comes out of me in situations like that is if I get irritated or something irritates me, and I'll just go nuts and just start ranting and raving about stuff. And people think me having a mental breakdown is funny to some extent. For the most part, if you want to wear a shirt or something like that, that's a little higher risk fashion wise to a show I'm performing at, I'm probably not going to acknowledge it or say anything. Like that's not really a lot of the times the stuff that I pick up on. I remember I did a show. I was on a show as a fundraiser. It was out in Maine, and through my own stupidity, I didn't bother to check ahead of time and see the distance I would be traveling, and it ended up being like 4.5 hours through like moose infested country roads in the middle of Maine, almost all the way up to Canada. And I got there like just in the nick of time because it took so long. And when I went up, I just unloaded on everything that was like on my mind on the trip out there. And it's that kind of stuff that's not necessarily a pre-planned thing. And it's a little bit crowd worky, but it's also just like riffing on the moment or what happens to be going on in those situations. I mean, I have an act. All comedians have an act, and you know, the general idea is that I'll do my act or at least get into it. There's always new stuff you're working on that you're excited about, that you want to try to shoehorn in to your act somehow if you have the ability to do so. So it really depends. It depends what position you're on in the show, what's going on, what's on your mind. It kind of takes on a life of its own.
So in other words, to get the car started with you, somebody has to piss you off, and then all of a sudden you'll fly off the handle.
I thrive in situations where I'm irritated or somebody has pissed me off. I obsess about those things. I just can't let them go.
That's funny because when I hear it, right, and I think about it, at first I'm like, huh, that's strange, or that's a little different. And then I hear it and I think about it and I'm like, wait a minute. Some funniest moments on TV, movies, whatever, were people blowing up. So I can kind of understand that in a way, and it does draw genuine attention to the situation, because if you are genuinely annoyed, pissed off about something, people feel that, you know. So and that's why you're able to naturally do crowd work instead of, like you said, going one by one with a person. It's like, no, that's that natural crowd work because they're feeling that pissed off reaction, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and it's done in good fun. I'm not up there screaming at people in Maine for their moose problem or anything like that. You know, it's all done like really tongue in cheek, but it does feel good to just have something on your mind and just unload whatever you happen to be thinking. I did a gig recently. It was a lot of fun. It was out in Vermont. They put us up in some haunted hotel or something like that. And I went up and just started riffing about that. My toilet wasn't working properly, and it just like it came out. I don't know necessarily. It sounds so stupid to say because like, where does it come from? It comes out of your own head. But I don't necessarily know, or sometimes when I step up there, that I'm going to go down that road and end up talking about some of that stuff. But you just go up, you feel comfortable, feels like a conversation with the audience, and you just start talking about stuff. I mean, the idea is always to segue into doing your act and material, but I don't know. I have like a thing about obviously some of the jokes that I've done, they've been in my act for a while. I've done them for a long time. So for me, like, working on something new, doing some riffing, having some kind of crowd interaction is fun, and it's more fun and exciting. It feels fresher than, hey, this happened to me in a store 10 years ago kind of stuff,
Right. Yeah. You talked about how it's all tongue in cheek. It's all like water off a duck's back. Do you feel in today's era it's harder to be a comedian? Because you started, you said, in 2010. That was almost 15 years ago. Do you feel that there's just a difference in terms of what people find funny nowadays, or what people find, how some people can find it as, like I said, hey, that was just lighthearted, but how some people genuinely get upset about certain situations? So for you, do you find it harder to be a comedian in today's era, or do you just, to you, it's just, hey, this is it, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't, type of deal?
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of that. I don't go up there with any bad intentions. Like, I think that people are able to tell that from the stage. I think they can see by my presence and the stuff that I'm talking about that we're just trying to have a good time. And I don't go up there ever with any purpose to say, hey, let's see if we can ruin some people's nights or anything like that. I want people pay money. I want them to have a good time. Before I got into comedy, I was a fan of comedy. Like, I can appreciate that people pay to come have this experience. I want them to have fun. That's not to say that every show goes the way that you want and every crowd is as receptive as you want it to be. But things are definitely a little tighter now with what people are willing to joke about and what they're receptive to. But I don't think that necessarily changes things. It really all depends on what your purpose, for me, I would say, my purpose when I go up, make people laugh, have a good time. I want everybody to have fun and at least have a good experience. And if we can accomplish that, terrific. I'm not going up to try to walk people out of the room or offend people. That doesn't mean I might say something that not everybody likes. I mean, you can't cater to everybody's expectations. You can't do it. So, there has been a change in how audiences are and stuff like that. But I don't, as far as like the impact it has, I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with what you're trying to do up there. But listen, I don't have any like terribly offensive jokes. And I've been in rooms where I've done jokes and they've gotten oohs and ahs and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't understand it. Like, I don't get it. There's nothing there that could potentially offend people, but you just don't know. You don't know what's going on in people's heads when they get there.
Yeah, I agree with that. So nobody has gone up to you and just slapped you in the face because you made a joke, right? No, I'm just kidding.
So funny, because it came really, really close.
No way.
Last week, it came very, very close to happening. But that's when it comes in handy being a social worker as well. So, yeah.
Do you mind sharing that story?
I don't know how much of it I can share, but I'll just say this. It just involved somebody that was thoroughly intoxicated and a very let me think of how to word this. A misunderstanding about who the person's company was that night. And it just hit some kind of raw nerve that the person reacted. And listen, we smoothed everything out. Everything was all cool. but it was, for a minute being in a situation like, okay, this could get really ugly really, really fast. If it's not de-escalated a little bit. That's probably the closest it's come. I mean, I've seen this at other people's shows when other people are headlining. I've seen people get upset, yell stuff out, and the comedian's like, listen, a lot of these people have been doing this for a really long time. They can handle a situation like something like that comes up. They're able to, switch, pivot, de-escalate, talk people down. I mean, you'd be surprised sometimes in crowd work. I'm thinking of one time I was doing a show and this lady was really drunk and she was yelling out, and I had to stop her because it was bringing the show to a screeching halt. Like nobody was doing anything. We weren't going any further unless this was addressed. And I said a couple of things and they were like, all in good fun, but not, a little bit mean spirited, because I was just trying to send a message like, hey, we need to stop and get on with the show. And it was fine. Like the crowd was laughing. She was laughing. She ended up shutting up and stuff. But those kind of things, like you step out on a ledge to do something like that. You never know how the person's going to take it or what kind of reaction they're going to have.
To piggyback off of this, it's kind of perplexing to me, because I feel like if you're there for a show, like, and maybe this is just me as an individual, I feel like there's nothing a person can say in which I will truly be brutally that offended by what they say, whether they're joking or being serious, to be honest. And maybe that's just, like I said, maybe that's just how I'm built. But in my opinion, if you're going to a comedic show, a comedic skit, where there's going to be satire, I personally just don't understand sometimes the level that some people get to. And obviously I'm referencing the most extreme case of the Will Smith, Chris Rock situation. But I've read things where comedians across the country have just had a harder time, and they've felt like, they have to walk on eggshells a little bit. And to me, it's like, well, you're not going to a politically correct show. It's not like you're going and watching a show that's supposed to be prim and proper. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm different, but I just kind of feel like that's just, I don't understand why you're spending the money if you're looking to get offended. I know that you said it yourself that you do a good job at recognizing that these people are spending their hard-earned money for a good time, so you want to make it a good time for them, which I kudos to you, right? That's a skill, and that's what you're hired to do, and that's what you're paid to do. But in some aspects, I'm also like, I don't know, like, why are you going into shows looking to be offended? Like, I went to Improv Boston for my birthday a few months ago, and it was a great time. That's more crowd work. Obviously, they do have a couple of skits that they have designed. I don't know if you've ever seen a show, but
yeah,
I don't know. I just felt like it's like, to me, I'm like, I find that fascinating and interesting how they can come off of it so witty and it's just so natural. And I don't know. To me, it's just, I don't understand why people are going to these shows if they're going to be offended. But again, maybe that's just me. But I think for you, shows how much of a professional you are that you're able to recognize that and say, you know what? I'm going to hang my hat on this one. I want them to have a good time. So I know how to de-escalate, or I know how to pivot away from the situation, so that way it doesn't end in a catastrophe.
Yeah. And, for me, it's like, it's not necessarily tailoring and making choices for the audience. It's just like, part of my thing is like, I want to have a good time when I'm up there too. Like it's part of the reason I do it is because, it's talking in the beginning about, there is that addictive factor. You do it, it's like chasing the dragon. You want to do it more and more and more. You want to get better and stuff like that. But a big part of it is when I'm actually up there, I'm having a good time. It's a blast to be up there. I like to have fun up there. My idea of fun, for the most part, is, telling jokes, joking around, and having other people have fun, and not, someone shows up in a douchey shirt or something like that. Like, yeah, it's fun. It's fun to say something, and people do. And that's what I think. You'll notice this when people go to comedy shows. if there's not assigned seating, everybody gravitates towards the back. They just go further back. Some people sit like midway. A lot of times they'll leave the tables up front empty. That's why a lot of places they seat you, so they make sure that all those areas fill in. And sometimes I'll talk to the people that were in the back, and I'll be like, what did you think was going to happen here? They're like, we don't want to be picked on. We don't want stuff said. And you're like, we can see you back there. It doesn't matter if you're in front. I know you're back there. I know what your shirt looks like back there as just as much as if you sat in the front. So it's really like some people have that expectation. They step into it. Oh, if we come to the show, we might end up being part of the show. I don't want to be picked on and stuff like that. Some older people go to shows, and this blows my mind. Every now and then you'll look out in the crowd and you'll see this one. I don't want to age shame anybody, but there's always like a little elderly person with just a look on their face like, and that is, I'm always like, I don't know if you were expecting like Bob Hope or one of these like comedians from 100 years ago to come, like what was your expectation when you went there? Again, you're not hearing anything super challenging. You might hear about sex and dicks and vaginas and stuff like that, but they had sex and dicks and vaginas in the 1920s too. Like that hasn't, that response I never understand, because I'm like, it hasn't changed. Like, do you cross over to like 70 years old and you don't find dicks funny anymore? Like, when does that happen?
Even I find that funny. Just the word itself is funny. Like if somebody says a joke about it, I'm gonna laugh.
Well, and like 50 years or so, you're not. You're gonna be in your nursing home, and you're gonna be so mad that anybody mentions genitalia in any type of way. And so that there's part of that. Some of these shows are like fundraisers. People go out to support the cause, and there's a comedy show there, and then they might hear something. And generally, when people get booked for fundraisers, they know that, and they tailor their set. Based on what kind of situation they're getting into. But sometimes people they don't want to be challenged or hear anything that might challenge their thoughts or beliefs when they're just trying to support a cause. You never know what's going into people's heads. Your thought that, you want to go out, you go to, Improv Boston, you want to see a good show, have a good time. That's the thought that I think everyone has in their head when they step into a show. But I can't be certain that happened,
Yeah, because there's elderly folk who are looking at you with such disappointment. Tim, why did you reference dicks?
Maybe somebody just accidentally ran over a pedestrian and they need somewhere to hide out and chill for 90 minutes. I don't know. You don't know what's going on with the people that are out there. In my mind, I'm like, they bought a ticket. They came to a comedy show. They must be here to laugh. They must want to hear jokes and laugh. But I don't know that that's necessarily true. I feel the same way as you. I really don't know what you could say that would possibly I would find offensive or yell out about or get up and walk out. Like, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'll hear it someday.
You'll hear it when you're 75. That's when you'll hear it.
I don't know. I get irked by, I play pickleball, speaking of the elderly, and there's, I go there to play. I don't necessarily talk to a lot of people and stuff like that. And a guy was partners with another person, and he goes, you could be partners with Mr. Personality. And he was talking about me. And I was like, for the whole night, I was like, what does he mean by that? What does that mean? Do I not have a personality? Do I have a good personality? Like, that is not something offensive, but that is something that drove me crazy.
You're like, I don't know what side of the scale you mean. Like you said, do I have too much of a personality, or do I have none at all? Yeah.
I don't know. It was a mystery to me. I certainly wasn't going to ask him, so I just spent the rest of the game trying to hit him with the ball. And so that would make me feel better.
It's probably because you're sarcastic yourself. So in your head, you were like, I can't tell if this person is being sarcastic with me or not. Maybe that's why.
I think we just had a breakthrough. we've definitely hit on something there.
Because I'm a pretty facetious person as well. And so sometimes I'm just like, I can't tell if this person is being 100% with me or if they're just fucking with me. I can't tell. Like, I don't know. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm the same way. You toured with some pretty cool people like Lenny Clarke. Can you talk about some of those experiences?
So like a lot of these, I'm on the local circuit, so it's like I get to work with some acts like this. I don't tour with them. We don't do like all get on a bus and drive around the country and stuff. But those shows are always fantastic. Like they're people that are a draw like that can pack a room based on their reputation and their name and stuff like that. Especially some of these guys have been around for a while. It's always a great experience because you get like a really full room of an audience. Again, like people that go to a Lenny Clarke show are people that are like they're ready to go. They want to hear some stuff, and they're not going to get like offended or anything like that. Like they know what they're getting into. So it's always good to be in front of a crowd like that. And I've been lucky enough to have the opportunity to perform with some acts like that and some national headliners that have just been like, I mean, they're great opportunities to have. I mean, there's various spectrums of what you can do in comedy. I did a show a couple weeks ago for 8 people in a bar, and it's a lot different being in a room with 200 people with Lenny Clarke.
Yeah.
It's a completely different experience, completely different energy and everything. So yeah, those are always fantastic opportunities when they come around.
You just referenced how sometimes you have done these smaller shows and sometimes you've done these bigger shows. For you, Tim, how do you manage if you do go to a venue and it is a smaller scale crowd? Does that discourage you, or is that a situation in which you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to give the best show I can give to these individuals?
Well, I mean, I'm always discouraged to a certain extent, but I like to, it's the same thing. It's a small show. The people paid. They came out to see a show. My intention when I go up is that I want them to have fun. I want them to have a good time. I want them to leave thinking that they saw something and it was worth coming out. In that particular situation, we had a few hurdles. There were some issues with sound in the sense that we didn't have any or anything, but they had a stool for some reason. So I sat down when it was my turn. I closed that show out and I just pulled the stool up in front of the people, sat down, and just did like a really small, intimate kind of performance that I brought them all into. Like they were all, I asked, where are you from? What do you do? We joked around about stuff. I told some stories about things. And that when I left, it was I had a really good time. I thought it was a really good experience. The feedback I got from them was good too.
All right, awesome. So where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
Oh my God. I don't know the answer to that. Wow. I'm not very forward thinking. I don't ever think of that.
So you're more of an in the moment kind of guy?
Yeah, I feel like I am. I just every morning when I wake up, I feel like it's coming back from the dead. I'm shocked. I'm always surprised. I'm like, all right, well, let's do this again. I don't know. It's 5 or 10 years down the line. I don't really know how to answer that. I mean, I guess what did people say? If you were a comedian, you would probably want to be playing Madison Square Garden or be rich and famous or something. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know that I want to play Madison Square Garden.
Are you pretty content where you're at?
I think in 5 or 10 years, I want to be performing for 8 people in a bar still.
So you're pretty content with where you're at. You're happy. You feel content as in your career path right now.
I just think you could do anything, you know? Either way would be fine.
Okay. I like that. I respect that. All right. I've got some jokes for you then, and I want you to rate them to see how well I am. All right. I told you at the beginning that I kind of wanted to be a comedian at one point, so we'll see how I do. All right.
So give me a little background on that. Did you actually do comedy, or was this just like a dream, or what?
This is a dream, complete dream. I was the type of kid that thought I was hilarious. I saw a post on Facebook one time that said, or Instagram, one of the social medias, they all blend in together at this point in life. It said, were you funny or did you have a normal childhood? And I felt, because I didn't have a normal childhood, that I was hilarious because I could always laugh at my own personal trauma, crazy upbringing. So that's probably part of the reason why I said earlier that nothing could really bother me, because to me, I was like, I grew up in a broken home. Brothers were fighting, thinking that we were WWF stars all the time. One story, between me and my brothers, we accidentally gashed our youngest brother's leg to the point where he needed stitches, hands down. But me and my other brothers, Mickey Mouse this thing, put a bunch of gauze, damn near put duct tape on the thing, and held it together, so much so that my mother was like, well, you guys all did a good job of keeping the wound close together, and if I try to open it, it might get infected. So because of that, I'm going to let it be and see what happens. And sure enough, it healed completely fine, but he has a massive scar on his leg. So that goes to show you just some of the traumatic stuff that me and my brothers have gone through. So no, it's complete. I never went into some comedy show. I have a dry sense of humor. I think I know a couple dad jokes that are funny for me. So I wanted to ask a professional to see what he thought.
All right. Did you write these, or did you get these off the internet or something?
I wrote two of them. One of them I heard before, and I just always thought it was funny. Why did the man fall down into the well?
Why?
Because he couldn't see that well. No, not doing it.
Is that the professional one?
No, that's the one. That's the one I wrote. Okay, I got another one then. I think you might like this one.
Right.
We'll see. I got sent to the store to pick up 6 cans of Sprite. When I got home, I realized I picked 7 up.
I liked it better when I was having tech issues.
Okay, so that's a no as well. Okay.
That was my favorite part of the show so far.
Okay. What do you call poultry looking at lettuce?
Oh, I don't know.
Chicken sees a salad.
I see what you did there.
That was the one that I heard a long time ago.
That was the professional? That's a professional joke?
That's the one I heard online I heard somebody say it online a long time ago.
And it stuck with you.
It did.
That's your version of the scar on your brother's leg.
That's right.
That joke has stayed with you through all these years.
Yep.
I think I'm not good for dad jokes and puns. I don't understand them. Okay. I don't.
So that's not you.
No, it's like I listen. People say them all the time. You hear these all the time. I guess people really enjoy them. But you should go to an open mic.
Okay.
And do your what's the harm? What could happen?
Right.
You open mic. You just sign up. You go up there and do your stuff. And if people like it, you'll know. If they don't, you'll know too.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? I got it, Tim. I should just stick with podcasting and talking. Jokes aren't for me.
You need to do an open mic. I would close with the 7-Up joke.
Oh,
that is definitely that's your closer.
Okay.
For sure.
So you actually kind of like that one.
I'm just being nice.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to ask you some burning questions while we wrap up then, okay?
Okay. Am I supposed to be eating like hot wings when we do this?
Yeah, yeah. You know what? Do you have some hot wings or some hot sauce you can just kind of throw down real quick? No.
I don't.
All right. Do you think that if there was another version of Tim, a clone version of Tim, that you could defeat yourself in a fight?
Would I want to defeat myself? I mean, I'm fighting against myself, right?
Yeah.
Like, who really wins there?
I don't know.
Um, I would be fine defeating myself. Just no headshots.
Okay. Nice, nice. All right. If you could get $20 million, but for the rest of your life, there's one fly following you, and if this fly touches you at any point in your life, you instantly die, would you do it?
Yes. And the reason being is I have one of those electrified tennis rackets for insects.
Like the zapper things, right?
House. Yeah. I'm like Venus Williams with that thing. Like I would get that fly and burn it to a crisp.
Okay.
Am I able to do that? It didn't say.
You are
the
able
genie
to.
Didn't say I couldn't do that.
You are able to kill the fly, but what if you killed the fly that wasn't that fly, and all of a sudden the other one went ahead and got you? That's the issue here.
You're underestimating how good I am with this racket.
Okay. I am underestimating. Okay.
I think I took a bird down once. I'm not 100% sure. It was dark.
Okay. Oh, wow. All right. Wow. All right. So you're really confident in the fact that this fly will never get near you, and you'll be able to keep your 20 million and live.
Okay. 100%.
Okay.
It's barely worth the aggravation for 20 million. That 20 million is not enough. That'll get me through like a year. And they really need to start upping the rewards in these scenarios.
All right. Especially in today's economy, right? All right. What conspiracy theory do you most believe in?
Oh, wow. I mean, I don't really believe in a lot of them. There's something recently made me think about the flat earthers though, and think everyone just says like, oh, flat earthers are ridiculous. And I thought for a minute, I'm like, well, how do I know? I don't really know that. Like, I know I've never fallen off the planet, but I mean, I haven't been to a lot of places either. Did the flat earthers tell you where the edge is supposed to be? Is there a defined edge somewhere?
So I'm not a flat earther. I want to get that off the record so this doesn't get clipped up as me saying I'm a flat earther. I'm not a flat earther. But what I've heard from flat earthers is that when they go ahead and they're on an airplane and they see the distance, they can see that it looks flat. That's what I've been told by a person who is a flat earther.
Okay. So there's no defined edge. That's what.
Right. Yep. No defined edge.
I don't think that it's possible. I kind of like the idea that I would like the Earth to be flat. I wouldn't mind if you could fall off the edge.
Okay. I like that.
I feel like it would solve a lot of problems.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, my friend. I got 2 questions for you, and then we'll wrap up. All right? Here we go. I'm going to add it to the screen here. What's the next bite of the sandwich for you? A, B, or C?
Oh, man. I can't. I would say, all right, I can't see how they're labeled, but do you see the far end thing that's sticking out there? I'm going to go, which one? Is A the one closest to the hand?
Yes.
I'm going B then.
Okay, you're going B. All right. Yes.
Yeah.
I like that. All right. All right, and then the last question I have for you.
What kind of sandwich was that?
Let's see. Let me see. You know, I can't tell if that's peanut butter and jelly or like a bacon, egg, and cheese. You're right. I can't.
I thought it was peanut butter and jelly, and that influenced my decision.
Okay. So if it was peanut butter and jelly, it'd be B.
I feel like if you bite into C, you're gonna squeeze the jelly out, and it'll land on your jeans.
So if it was like a bacon, egg, and cheese or ham and cheese, would that be a different answer for you?
Well, a bacon, egg, and cheese, you would eat on like an English muffin or a bagel. You'd have to be insane to eat it on bread like that.
Tim, there's some psychopaths out there that would eat a bacon, egg, and cheese on wheat bread. There are some psychopaths that would do that.
I know, and then they come to one of my shows. That's probably what happens.
That's right. Okay. All right. The last question I have for you is, if a dog wore pants, do you think you'd wear them like that or like that, which is 4-leg or 2-leg?
Oh, man. I would say you would just wear the 2-legged pants.
Right. Yep.
I feel like the dog's front legs are actually, we call them legs, but we probably should be calling them arms.
Yes. I agree. Okay. Nice. All right. Tim, can you plug yourself in? Where can people find you, look you up, see all the shows that you're doing, all that jazz?
So I have a website. It's Tim McKeever Comedy, and everything that I do is on there. It's got links to my socials and stuff on there as well. That's probably the best option for finding out like my schedule and where I'm going to be and stuff. So yeah, Tim McKeever Comedy, and find it, look at it,
and love it.
Follow me on whatever, or don't. Either way, I'll be fine. That's how you find me.
Perfect. Well, Tim, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day, sitting down, chatting with me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Has this been an enjoyable experience for you?
Absolutely, 100%. Aside from the technology issues and my ego being crushed a little bit with my jokes, aside from that.
The tech issues were bound to happen. This stuff happens to me all the time. I knew the minute I logged on, eventually, somehow it would go down. I was just waiting for it to see when it would happen. But I'm glad we were able to get back on track.
Yeah, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate you doing this. That is going to do it for this episode of the Reyes Reflection. Follow the show, share the show, follow me on the socials at I'm Nathanael Reyes, and check out our wonderful sponsors. I know Tim is going to. Arave Cards, Jocko Fuel, and Mad Rabbit. And as always, may you live, may you love, and may you thrive. I'm Oprah as a dude, and I love you all.